The Devil Wears Prada 2 will premiere on Friday, May 1, 2026, 2 decades after the original movie became a sleeper hit. While the 2006 film was always going to be a modest success, given the interest in the Devil Wears Prada book and Meryl Streep's casting, before its release, the movie was expected to be more of a chick flick. Just like Miranda Priestley, the casting of her protégé Andy Sachs was an equally important decision. Fox wanted Rachel McAdams, a newly minted A-lister after starring in both The Notebook and Mean Girls just 2 years prior, offering her the role 3 times. But McAdams' fame was the reason she turned it down, as she was intentionally taking a step back from major Hollywood roles. Fox offered the part to other actresses who had stronger indie credibility or had already done more adult dramatic roles, including Scarlett Johansson, Natalie Portman, Kate Hudson, and Kirsten Dunst. Despite being Fox's 9th choice, Anne Hathaway had her heart set on being in The Devil Wears Prada. Between Ella Enchanted and Princess Diaries, Hathaway was associated with younger, more wholesome roles. She had to convince studio executives she could play the more cutthroat Andy after the makeover. Hathaway pushed hard, even writing "Hire Me" in the Zen garden on one executive's desk. Ironically, boldly campaigning hard to get the role is the opposite of what Andy does, landing the job despite being completely unqualified. Nevertheless, Hathaway was the final piece of the puzzle that made the cast of The Devil Wears Prada so perfect. How Anne Hathaway's casting made The Devil Wears Prada so iconic? Ultimately, Anne Hathaway's persistence became the secret ingredient that made the movie work. There is something meta about how, inside the movie, everyone insists Andy doesn't belong at Runway, while in the production world, studio executives weren't convinced about Hathaway. Hathaway's initial sweetness is essential to the film's balance. Andy begins as wide-eyed and slightly out of step with the fashion world, which makes her transformation feel meaningful rather than purely aesthetic. Surrounded by sharper personalities, her softer energy provides a crucial contrast. The supporting characters function as snarky archetypes of the industry, delivering cutting commentary and embodying the intimidating culture of Runway. Andy, however, carries the emotional arc, evolving from awkward outsider to valued insider before ultimately reclaiming her perspective. That dynamic is especially important opposite the formidable Miranda Priestley. Miranda may deliver the film's most iconic moments, but Andy's journey gives the story its momentum. As Andy moves from fear to admiration, the shift feels gradual and earned. There's also a subtle meta quality to the casting. Andy desperately wants to break into publishing despite being unqualified, unfamiliar with the industry, and repeatedly told she's wrong for the job. Hathaway, knowing she wasn't even an early choice, brought that same underdog energy. A tougher, more immediately confident Andy, the type of character Scarlett Johansson or Natalie Portman often play, would have changed the tone entirely. The character works because she has something to prove, and Hathaway's determination makes that arc feel completely genuine. And Hathaway's casting has only become more perfect for The Devil Wears Prada 2. 20 years ago, Meryl Streep was the clear box office insurance, while the pleasant surprise was just how dryly funny her performance turned out to be. Anne Hathaway, meanwhile, was the bigger risk, stepping into a more adult role after headlining some of the best teen movies of the early 2000s. The role graduated Hathaway into the big leagues, allowing her to hold her own opposite a towering performance. What makes that choice even more fitting now is Hathaway's longevity. It's difficult to sustain a long-term acting career, but she has remained an A-list presence, balancing prestige projects with mainstream hits and moving comfortably between comedy, drama, and blockbuster fare. That versatility mirrors what Andy represents. She is the sweetness that brightens an otherwise tart movie, grounding the heightened world of fashion in something relatable. Andy's defining trait is the sense that she wouldn't intentionally step over someone to get ahead, which makes her decision to step out of the car at the end of The Devil Wears Prada feel inevitable rather than sudden. Hathaway also appears to understand that aspect of the character when it comes to the sequel. Reportedly, earlier drafts positioned Andy as married with children, but Hathaway pushed for a version where Andy spent the intervening years traveling and pursuing new adventures. That direction aligns with the character's curiosity and ambition, and it's a more exciting evolution for the story. With Streep, Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci all set to return, and Aline Brosh McKenna back to write the script, the sequel has the right creative foundation. While nothing may be as groundbreaking as the original, the elements that made it work are still in place, suggesting The Devil Wears Prada 2 will equally never go out of style.